But anyway, I'm roughing in around the latch here. And like I said, this is a rough cut, so just get it close. We're going to come back later and do the final trimming of where exactly we want it. We're just trying to get it out, get it where it'll lay down to do the cut against the actual gasket itself. Keep your film pointed up and let it roll around like that. Keep it from creasing or tearing. Now we can start making our cuts against the gasket, and I always cut back to that incision cut that I made to do the trim around the latch or the hinges. Same as here. Tear back to your cut. Keep it up to keep the film. Don't put your hand completely on the film to not let it come up and roll around. And you know you're cutting clean when it follows your knife as you make the cut. Again, that's just a rough cut. We're going to come back and trim it later. We just want to be able to do our trimming. And you can see again, I always cut back towards that relief cut that I made. Same thing. Now we're going to do our final trim around the hinge. It's a metal plate on the inside you can't see, but that's what I'm trimming actually around. And when I make the curb part there, I'm looking more at the nut cover there and trying to stay equally distanced as I make my cut around the cover. And when you're picking your trim, what you trim away, when you're picking that out, be careful not to just yank it out of there, because you may not have a clean cut all the way. So before you pull very hard, make sure it's all the way, it's cut all the way through. On this particular glass, we're going to leave the top of the film roughed in. We're not going to trim to the gasket or the hinges at the top of the glass, because we have more room to make our cut from the inside. Like I said, we're going to get it close, but we're going to do the final trimming on the inside here for two reasons. Actually, a couple reasons, maybe more than two, but there's not a lot of room because of the overhang of the roof, and then there is it's a huge cover on the outside and just a small nut on the inside, so it's easier to trim around that small nut and to ensure that we're not going to have any light gap from the inside. That's why we didn't trim the top up there. Like I said, we're going to save that once the film's actually applied to the inside. Not all tractors have these removable seals. I believe Kubota and a few others actually use glue to glue them to the glass, but a lot of these John Deeres, they're removable easily, so go ahead and get them out of your way. Gone there. When you're cleaning these around these hinges, especially one that's been in the field, always scrape away. Never scrape towards these hinges or latches, and then wipe everything down with a towel. Anything that the film can potentially touch, get it clean as well. Because I promise you, the film's gonna touch some things in there. And you don't have to soak them down either, not the inside of the glass. Especially if it's been in the field, you're just going to wash more contaminants. You're going to awake the sleeping dragon. So little water is possible, especially on dirty things that are very dirty. A lot of tenders think that you want to try to flush that trash away. I don't agree with that. I like to not disturb it. It seems to have a cleaner job in result. And when you're peeling these with these trim cuts, be careful. Do a little at a time. Wet that glass just in case it accidentally rolls off or whatever you have it stuck to. And fold it up. Get inside there and get it on the glass. If it's cut precisely, it's gonna go right into place without any issues. So spend your time really precisely cutting your pattern, and you won't have any issues. It saves you so much time when it actually comes to applying it to the inside. Be careful around that cut. You can easily grab and crease it. Alright, here's the top edge. Like I said, the inside here was just a nut. It's much smaller than the cover on the outside. That's why I finished the trimming at the top on the inside rather than the outside. Always watch, make sure your film's following you. If it's not, you're going to rip the film. So go back and make sure it's cleanly cut from the beginning. A good sharp tip always helps. Just follow right around. Now we can go back and trim against the seals. You do pick up a little bit of extra contaminants or trash this way, but it's very minimal as long as everything's clean and wiped down. There's two kinds of jobs, acceptable and not acceptable. And depending on what you charge, that's how you kind of decide what's acceptable and what's not. That part's on you. Keep your squeegees clean, sharp, smooth. Your yellow Bondos especially. Lesser quality films scratch so easily. That's why you want to keep them very smooth. And using that towel, keeping a towel with next to me. Your blue jeans, if you have denim on, you can smooth them out really well against denim also. I don't get crazy using the hard card. I like to let things dry out naturally. What we're doing here is trimming around the windshield, the rear windshield wiper. This particular unit didn't have one on it. Some come with them, some don't. It's an extra option. But this one came with the little rubber plugs that I popped out, of course. And then before I put them back in, I always go back and trim these out. And there's always water held in there, so when you trim them, it's going to come out and either wash between you filming your glass or down the window, so keep that in mind. Here, be very careful around that seam or cut. You can easily grab it, crease, or tear. And going back and doing a little fine trimming, it's not uncommon on these, on anything like this. So keep a good sharp tip. It's the best advice I can give on that when doing the trimming. Again, very gentle across that seam channel. Wipe everything down while you're there or before you leave. Here's the old school gasket. We're going to trim it out. I like to trim at about a 45-degree angle and somewhere around the 1/16 of an inch. Not much, just enough to get your film in there and hide the light gap. Again, a good sharp tip. This takes practice. Used to, all windows we had to do this on every car. Today's tinters have it made. Just have a black border to go to. A little bit of water. I'm also going to flush it just because I was shooting this video once it's scraped. The only reason I flushed this one was just for demonstration for you guys. Normally on a brand new unit like this that's never been to the field, you don't need to flush it. Scrape everything down always. And you can kind of dig into that gasket too if there's a lot of dust in there, and flush it just like that. Almost all that dust or trash will be blown right out. And then before I final squeegee, I go back and wipe everything the film again could possibly touch, as well as that bottom trough. That's where everything was washed into. That's why we flushed it. Now we just want to squeegee and we're ready. Again, it doesn't take that much water. Very little. I think so many tinters use entirely too much water, in my opinion. Doesn't need that much. Keep your edge clean. I'm kind of poking it down in there, and if it was old and dirty, really get that out. Trash. Get you a rough cut pattern. Wet both sides. I wet the back side if I use a soft squeegee. It's just a habit I'm in. That way I don't have to reach over and grab my bottle again. It's just kind of time saving. Smaller glasses, I don't even use the soft rubber squeegee. I just go straight to the yellow Bondo and hard squeegee it. Boom, done. Trim, wipe down, out of there. It's all about time. This where using both hands equally can really save a lot of time. I don't really prefer my left hand over the right hand. I can cut equally with either. Or squeegee.